Hi there, everyone. Thanks for joining to another week, another exciting episode and week of Live at 5. Here we are. Happy new month of Nissan since we last saw each other. We've turned the corner on a new month, and we're in the month of freedom, the month of Passover, the beginning of the year of months. And it's a big day also. Before we get too deeply into the show, I want to thank everyone for joining, and I want to thank everyone for those of you who have participated already in the effort of the day, which is the annual Jewish Experience Matching Campaign, which is going on, and that is about to conclude. For those of you who would like to participate, if you haven't already, you can do so for another few hours. And every donation made to the Jewish Experience is tripled. So thank you to everyone who's already contributed, and to those who would like to. And for those who've helped, and for those who've participated, and those who have reached out. Our sages actually say, very interestingly, the Talmud, it says, which means if you encourage someone else to do, if you get someone else to do it, it's even considered greater than if you did it, which is kind of counterintuitive. You wouldn't think that. You might have think, better to do it yourself. Just do the thing. In this case, to make a contribution or give some tzedakah to the community, to the cause. But really, their point was to say, no, it's actually considered to be at some level just to spread the word, encourage others to contribute to the cause is even greater. It's an amazing thing. And so there are a lot of folks who've been hard at work for the last couple of days, certainly the last day and a half, making this campaign go. And I feel a little bit like Jerry Lewis. You remember Jerry Lewis? So I don't know if you remember that. He was really the guy. He invented the telethon. I always feel like these matching campaigns are like the modern version of the Jerry Lewis telethon, except they're a lot less fun because he was a lot more entertaining than I am. But the concept certainly is similar, and it really is a wonderful and a nice thing. While I was on the phone with lots and lots of people, and emailing, texting, hacking, and sending carrier pigeons, I noticed a couple of things. I just wanted to share some announcements. Someone asked me if we could share our prayers for the speedy recovery of Ehud Ben Rus. So that is someone we should pray for. And also I wanted to wish a mazel tov to our dear contributor, our dear friend, our dear board member of the Jewish Experience, Shaul Gabay and Leah, who got married yesterday in the midst of a huge blizzard. So we actually, I made it to the wedding. I was there. I was happy to see Rabbi Isaac Wasserman and Riva, the Rosh Yeshiva, who also made it. They were at the wedding in the blizzard, and I was amazed. That was so amazing for them to come. And then we, when I drove home, probably about 2:00 in the afternoon yesterday, I got as far as the street in front of my house, and the car kind of beached it right there, gave up the goat. And I just had to leave it until today and dig it out a little bit. My next door neighbors came over. Thank you very much to them for helping me dig it out, and finally got. But you know what? It's amazing how fast the snow melts in Colorado. I feel like as fast as it comes down from the sky, it disappears just as fast. It's like the sky just goes and just sucks it back up, right up to the sky. Does it feel like that to you? It's like an amazing thing. The lack of humidity and the sunshine and the snow just disappears in no time. It's really wild. So a lot of it's gone, and I'm able to drive around a little bit again. So that was good. The car is out. The car is free. I also wanted to wish a mazel tov to the wedding going on today of Elisheva Major. The Major, I don't know if you know the Major family from the community. They live in Southeast. And Bli Ayin Hara, the family was blessed with triplets, twins, and another daughter. There are 6 girls in that family. Triplets, twins, and one by herself. The youngest is the age of my youngest. And one of the older girls, Elisheva, is getting married today. Her wedding's going on almost as we speak. And mazel tov to them and the whole family. Simchas, and many simchas by all of you. So the the topic of, of the day, there's lots going on. We're heading towards Passover. Obviously, I'm a little bit distracted with the last few hours of the annual matching campaign for sure. And if those are just tuning in on Facebook and you want to contribute, you could just go to theje.com and click on the button there, and you'll get right to it. And thank you for thinking of us. And if you're watching and you'd like to join us by Zoom, you could join us Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. on Zoom at 694-348-057. And we welcome you to join us behind the stage. I was talking to a guy today. This is something fascinating. I was talking to a guy and I said, I hadn't spoken to him in a long, long time. I called him up and he said, I thought you were so angry with me that I couldn't understand. He came up with a million reasons in his own mind why I might've been mad at him. And because we hadn't been in touch. So he figured out I was angry. And I felt terribly. Oh my gosh, I felt miserable. I didn't want to, nothing was wrong. I just, it's a pandemic. I'm not upset with you. I just haven't been in touch. There's a lot going on. Life is crazy. All of our classes got the kibosh. And I said, I invited you to live at 5 and, you should come. And he said, I thought you were angry with me. So I felt really badly. And then afterwards, there was another guy who I thought, well, I've been trying to call him for months. He hasn't ever responded. He must be angry with me. Doesn't want to talk to me. So I thought that's silly. I chastised this other guy for thinking that was the case. And it certainly wasn't. People aren't in touch. And I want to share that. It's a general rule. Don't assume because you haven't heard from someone that there's a problem and, they must be angry with me. If you know they're angry with you, then they're angry with you. But if you don't know that, don't assume that. In this world, it's so easy to not get a phone call, not see a text message, miss a voicemail. It's what happens. And if we give up on each other just because, he didn't call me back, or he didn't email me back, or didn't respond to my text, then, and we're all going to fall apart. Even worse, the worst thing. Do me a favor. Don't assume that I'm upset with you if I haven't gotten in touch with you. I'm just a knucklehead and I just got distracted. And assume that the best about everybody. We should all assume that about each other. Assume the best, just got busy, and just keep trying, just keep calling. And that just keep calling strategy works very well when you're trying to talk to like 600 people. We've got 685 people we've been in touch with in the last 30 hours or so. So you got to just keep calling, because not everybody picks up the phone. But certainly don't assume anything, negative. That's what you for sure should not do. That's the rule. Okay, that's the rule. We got a deal here between us. We got a deal. We're not going to assume anything other than the positive. If you don't hear from me, just call me. Now, the major, the month of Nisan that we just entered, I want to just introduce the month. Here we are. Welcome to the month of Nisan. And this is, we mentioned it before at the end of last week as we were getting ready for it. Nisan is the first of the months. It's the beginning. It's something very special. It's not just, month number 1, but think about it. When January 1 starts, we get excited. We make a blowout. The year ends and the year begins. It's a reason and cause for celebration. We're all excited to start something new, as a new year. Everybody wants to reset 2020. And start on 2021. We wanted to do that. We wanted to let this pandemic year be a year of the past. So this is really the ultimate reset. And it's a new year, but a new year of months. It's month number 1. Normally, you think of the beginning of the Jewish year as Rosh Hashanah, and it is. Interestingly, there are 2 different opinions in the Talmud about when the real New Year is. Okay, it's very interesting. There are 2 opinions. Now, that goes back to what my son asked me when he was here at home for Purim. He said, "What's the answer to every Jewish question?" I said, "Well, it depends." He said, "Right." That's right. That's the answer. It depends. That's the answer to every Jewish question is it depends. Because, this is the answer sometimes and That's the answer other times. And we have that very frequently. In the Talmud, it often depends. And you have lots of different opinions. And sometimes it's not where one is right and one is wrong. So there's a very interesting discussion, maybe you could call it a debate, in the Talmud between the great Rabbi Eliezer and the great Rabbi Yehoshua. They were contemporaries. They differed on a number of significant issues, and they differed about when God created the universe. Was it in the fall at Rosh Hashanah time, according to Rabbi Eliezer, or was it in the spring at Pesach time, according to Rabbi Yehoshua? Now, it's a fascinating thing. Think it basically means like this: when the universe was created and set into motion, was it suddenly fall or was it suddenly spring? What was the first season? When did the universe begin? Was it in the fall or was it in the spring? Now, there's a lot to be said about that. And I'm going to share just today the thoughts of a great rabbi, the Slonim Rebbe, who wrote in the Nesivos Shalom a very beautiful idea, which I was just reading on Shabbos. I'm going to share with you. He started off by asking, at the end of the day, what difference does it make? Why would this occupy debate in the Talmud what relevance does it have? I mean, come on. Do you need to know exactly when it was? What difference does it make? It's not, we don't spend time debating irrelevant things. It's just history. If it has no relevance to our world, then what would be the point? So that was the beginning question. And additionally, he asked, the Talmud seems to put a tremendous emphasis. The Torah even. The Torah puts a tremendous emphasis on the beginning of this very month, this month Nisan. Almost it's first, but okay, first is nice, but what else is it? And the Torah seems to be very excited about, there's extra energy around this month. What is it? So he gave the following beautiful perspective, which I'd like to share with you. Okay. Very beautiful. And I think it will really open up the entire preparation for Passover that we're going to now do together for the next 2 weeks, starting today. Okay. 2 weeks to prepare for Passover. And here we go. And this is going to be the bedrock. Okay. So pay attention. If you haven't tuned in, for those of you who haven't yet tuned in, tune in. That's like saying, okay, everybody is not here, raise your hand. Okay. Basically what he started with is like this. There are two basic, let's just call them facets of Judaism, facets of humanity. I'm going to globalize this a drop, because this is not just true of the Jewish people. It's true of every human being. There are two parts of your life. Those are Yiras Hashem and Avas Hashem, which means the awe of God that you have and the love. Awe and love. And they're kind of counterbalance each other. There are two ways that you relate to the fact that you're God in heaven created you in this world, and you're in awe of that fact, and you stand back and mind your P's and Q's and mind your manners, and you feel such love for that great fact that you're filled with love and you just want to do what you can. And those two things, those are the two halves of the way that we serve God, the way that we lead our lives. And in fact, all commandments can be broken down into the two parts. There's the negatives, if you will, and the positives. The negatives are the things that you avoid. Thou shalt not do this, because otherwise you get in trouble. And you stand in awe of God. You don't want to do what he said not to do. And then there's the other half of mitzvahs. There's the thou shalts. There's those things that you want to do. The positives. I am so appreciative and I feel such great love and I want to do. And Judaism and all of life can be broken down into those two halves. So now those two halves also correspond to these two major holidays. Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur on the one hand, and Passover on the other hand. On Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we're standing in awe. There's judgment going on. There's concern. We're trying to make sure that we that we mind our P's and Q's and we've done everything right. And we literally, we call them the days of awe. The 10 days, including Rosh Hashanah and ending in Yom Kippur, are called the days of awe. That's the time of year when we stand in awe. But this time of year in the spring is the time of Passover. That's the time when we feel the most love of God, that God shows us his love, that he reached into the persecution and slavery, the torment that we were experiencing in Egyptian exile, and he pulled us out of there, rescued us, and brought us to be his special nation. And we feel a great love from that. And there's a feeling of love. It's the opposite. There's the other emotion. There's the emotion of awe, and that's the high holidays. And there's the emotion of love, and that's Passover. And so explain in Nesiv Shalom that, if you will, the relevance of a debate about when the world was created would be which one of these is more significant, which one of them is primary, which one of these is more important. Was the world created in the fall at the high holiday time, and it's a world of awe, or was the world created in the springtime, Passover season, a world of love? Which one of them they're both real, they're both important, but which one maybe is primary? So it's very interesting. We happen to, if you look at the high holiday liturgy, the high holiday liturgy says that that today is the birthday of the world. We actually say that. We talk about the birth of the world. The world was born in the fall. The world was born in time for Rosh Hashanah, and that's part of the holiday celebration. We sing happy birthday to the universe at Rosh Hashanah. So it seems like from the liturgy, we're assuming that that's when the world was created. But you should know, amongst the great codifiers of Jewish law, the opinion is that the universe was created in the spring. And we tend to scratch our heads about that one. Well, what is, and again, I think according to Nesiv Shalom, it boils back to this. Ultimately, the primary of those two ways of relating to the Almighty is with love. That's really the idea of the primary. That's the ideal. That's love. They're both necessary. You have to have both. You can't do without either. But if one of them had to be primary, it would be the love. Feeling the love, acting on the love, trying to develop a sense of love. That's the primary. That's where we want to emphasize. That's what we want to lean into. And that's the springtime. That's now. We're going to talk about it more, but at Passover, the holiday of Passover, we read Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs. There are 5 special Megillas that we read throughout the holidays of the year. 5 of these special scrolls, and there's the most famous of those is at Purim time, we read the scroll of Esther. At Shavuos time, the scroll of Ruth. At Sukkot time, we read Ecclesiastes. At Tisha B'Av time, we read Lamentations. And at Passover, we read Song of Songs, Shir HaShirim. And what is that? It's a love song. It's a love song. It's a beautiful, very descriptive scroll of lovers. Talks about embracing and kissing. It's quite descriptive of love, of human love. And it's all understood as an analogy to describe the love of God and the Jewish people. And it's the holiday, we read it on Passover because that Passover is the holiday of that love. And so this time of year is that loving time of year. And we launch into Nisan, that the extra special emphasis, not only is it first, but it's primary because it's the month of love. And it's the month when we feel that love and we try to respond with love. Now, the topic of love itself is really also a very good platform upon which to also begin the discussion of not only the Parsha, but the whole book of Leviticus, of Vayikra, which we're starting this week. It is, we said last week we're going to talk about it. It is literally, we're going to start reading it this week. This week we begin to read the book of Leviticus, otherwise known as top of the third. And that is the parsha that's named for the same book. In Hebrew, it's Vayikra. And Vayikra, and he called, is the topic of the book is primarily the Leviticus. The word Leviticus is English, but it really comes from the Greek, which means the law of the Levites. And the Levites are the temple servants, the priests, the ones who are working in the temple, or the tabernacle, its predecessor, the temple that the Jewish people built at Mount Sinai, the movable temple, or the tabernacle, is the central edifice. That building in the middle of all of them, there's one middle building, and all of the Jewish people are camped around it. We'll talk about that later, but it was central. It's the centrality. It's the central place of the Jewish people's connection to God. And the book of Leviticus talks about what it's for. We talked in detail in the last book about what it looks like. We built it. We talked about it's the interior design and all the fashionable furniture and all the important stuff that goes in there. But we didn't know what to do with it yet. We didn't hear a word about it. We don't know what it's about or what's going on there. And in the book of Leviticus, we learn how to use it, what it's for. What are the tools that it provides us with? What opportunities does it afford us in our national mission, our ultimate goal of connecting? It's a place of connection. The Talmud points out that Jerusalem, which will be the ultimate permanent parking place of the tabernacle, okay? The tabernacle will one day come to rest in Jerusalem, and then it becomes a permanent temple, and it'll be there for 1,000 years, with a slight interruption between number 1 and number 2. It'll be there for a long, long time. But that is the permanent destination. So the Talmud says that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob all had their own names for that place, okay? In the days of Abraham, think about it. Abraham was walking up to that place for the binding of Isaac. And what was it called in that story? It was called a mountain. Har, the Hebrew word for mount. Not a mountain, but a foothill. We would call that a foothill in Colorado. The word har is like a little mountain, and that's what it was in Abraham's day. That's what it was called, mountain. And Isaac, in Isaac's day, there was a narrative in the Torah where Isaac was out in the field praying when his beloved Rivka, his wife to be, showed up. And our sages say he was on that very spot. And what did he call it? A field. He was out in the field praying. He called it a field. And in Jacob's life, the Torah refers to it again. Jacob had his famous dream with the ladder right on that spot. 3 times a charm. And he woke up and he said, this is none other than the Beis Elohim, the house of God. And the Talmud says, so let's see, Abraham called that place a mountain, and Isaac called that place a field, and Jacob called that place a house. Well, what are we going to do? What are we going to call it? What's going to be its name? And the Talmud says, Jacob wins. And that place is called the Beis Hamikdash, the house of holiness. It's a house, isn't it? We don't call it the mount, the field. We call it the house. That's called the house of holiness. And what's the idea of a house? A house is a place where the couple lives. They live at home. House is a home where the couple lives. And so that is the concept of the first and foremost, the first concept we have to get straight here is that our tabernacle that we're going to try to understand more and more about is a place of love and connection between the couple. Who are the members of the couple? God and the Jewish people. Okay? God and the Jewish people. We are the ones at home together in that place. It's our loving home. the presence of God and the Jewish people live together there at home in the temple. That's what it is. And that's why it's called a bais. That's why it's called a house. That's why when things go awry, when the Jewish people and God are when our relationship with God is on the rocks, unfortunately, God forbid, but when it is, we get thrown out of the house, and the house is torn down because that's the house is the place where we dwell together in love, and when that's not the case, then out we go. And when there's a reunion, and we come back home to the house, and we rebuild the temple, and we're home again. Okay. And that's why we have an outer room and an inner room. The outer room of the temple is like the foyer or the parlor. And when guests come, they can come as far as the parlor. But the temple has an inner room, a holier room than that, which we call the Holy of Holies. And that's the inner room. And that's like the inner space of the couple. Guests don't come in there. It's not the parlor. It's more like the bedroom. And no one comes in there except them. And that's the Holy of Holies, where no one went in there except once a year on Yom Kippur. The Kohen Gadol would walk in there. And what's in there? The Torah. And it's inside the ark, which we talked about, which has these two gold figurines spreading their arms towards each other in loving embrace. A figure of a little boy and a little girl with wings, though, and their wings are spread out towards each other. And that's an embrace. It's a love. It's a physical sign of the love of the Jewish people and God. That's what it is. In fact, the Talmud points out something amazing about those two gold figurines on top of the ark in the Holy of Holies inside the bedroom in the temple. And the Talmud points out that in one verse, they're described as pointing their wings towards each other. But there's another verse elsewhere in Tanakh in which they're described as pointing their wings away from each other. And the Talmud says, what's the case? What's the story? Which verse is right? Were the wings of the two angelic figures on the ark facing each other, towards each other, or away from each other? And you know what the Talmud says? The Talmud says, it depends. And the Talmud says that it depends. It depends on what? If the Jewish people and God, if the relationship was going like it should, then those two gold figurines faced each other as if to demonstrate the love. And if the relationship between God and the Jewish people were on the rocks, then they faced away. And that is the most incredible thing. They were like a miraculous moving symbol. They were like a litmus test or an indicator of the great love or the lack of that great love for the moment between God and the Jewish people. And they moved. And they demonstrated. And when it happens to be that every year on the holidays, you should know that every year on the festival, pilgrimage festivals like Passover, and the Jewish people would all gather in Jerusalem, they would pull back the curtain and they would allow, just for a minute, they would allow everybody that had gathered to come to that place to have a connection moment with God. They would pull back the curtain and they would allow us to see the golden figurines reaching towards each other in embrace. And they would say, look how beloved you are to God. That's what Passover is really about. That's what this month is about. That's what that place is about. That's the place of great, unbelievable love and connection. And as we go forward for the next 2 weeks, we're going to talk about Passover some more, and we're going to unpack that idea. And when we go through the book of Leviticus some more, we're going to unpack what was going on in that temple. What did that love look like? How is that love achieved and enhanced? That's going to be that's our project today. Is just a little introduction. That's been our show. It's been great. It's always great to be with you. Thank you for joining, and thank you for being part of our effort today for our campaign. We have another few hours, looks like 3 hours and 30 minutes, and we have a little bit left to go. I'm going to sign off here and wish you all a healthy night and a holy night, and we will see you, God willing, tomorrow on Live at 5.